Hello! Well, congratulations! You made it to the final act of Romeo and Juliet. And the last act, of course, is going to bring everything together in some very tragic way, I'm sure, as we already know. There's been so much foreshadowing in this play, leading us to this moment, and we already knew from the chorus at the very beginning of the play what was going to happen. We already knew that Romeo and Juliet were going to die. It's interesting here to pause and think for yourself. Did that change our enjoyment of the play, knowing how it's going to end? It's peculiar, I think, too. Okay, so in Act 5, we change scenes. We've been in Verona, and it tells us at the beginning of Scene 1, Act 5, that we are in Mantua. It's a town not very far away because Romeo has been banished and sent there. And he goes to Mantua and he has a plan. His plan is to kill himself, much like Juliet's plan. We see a parallel between these two characters, and the parallel continues because Romeo gets poison and it's a liquid, except that this poison is real. And he's planning to go to Juliet's grave, and he wants to go there and die. So the interesting thing about this movement in the plot is that Friar Lawrence sent a letter to Romeo to tell him, Juliet's not really dead. She's sleeping, you need to come save her. But what happened was the letter did not get delivered. Has that ever happened to you? You sent an email or sent a letter and it come back as non-delivered? It's actually very realistic. This could happen. And this seemingly mundane, unimportant event, a letter not being delivered, something so small, something so insignificant that leads to the ultimate tragedy in the play. And if we go back to something, and we talked about it a few lessons ago, cause and effect. So what is the cause of this tragedy? Here's another example of what might be the cause. Something insignificant, something you would never expect. It's very much like your life, and it makes it all more tragic. So Romeo goes to the apothecary and he buys the poison, and it has some nice imagery here again, and it makes it very spooky, like last time. Scene 1, line 42. He's in the shop, tortoise hung, an alligator stuffed in other skins of all shaped fishes, and about his shelves ruminants of, cakes of roses, a lot of spooky scene for the audience. In Shakespeare time, there wouldn't be very much on the stage. The staging was very limited. It was in the audience's imagination. That's why we have to visualize the play when we read it. So Romeo buys the poison from that apothecary and goes back to Verona goes to Juliet's tomb. At the same time, he jumps to Scene 2 in Verona, and Paris is going to Juliet's tomb as well. Not to kill himself, but to bring her some flowers to put on her tomb. We can see here now that Romeo is being paralleled with Paris. They're very similar at what's going on. The interesting thing here is that if all things have kind of their contrary, previously at the very beginning of the play, Romeo was in love with Rosalind, but Rosalind didn't love him back. Now at the end of the play, Paris is in love with Juliet, but Juliet doesn't love him back. It's very interesting to look at it this way. It means that these characters might be a type of character called a foil. A foil is when two characters serve to reveal one part of the character. So Romeo is the opposite of Paris. So Paris' character helps us understand Romeo, and Romeo's character helps us understand Paris. You can look for characters like that in many other books, but it seems to be opposites, but in their oppositions they create the other character. It's a complicated idea, but you see it here with Paris and Romeo in the final act. They became the opposites of each other. So Paris shows with his servant, and he's just called a page, no name, and Romeo shows with his servant Balthazar. And I thought there was an interesting point here in this play, because one thing I was talking about was how the play presents different ideas of love. When we have another idea of love here. Romeo is Balthazar. So Balthazar